a brotherhood, sharing a bond of those who will fight to protect America's freedom. Today, they are also passionate college football fans of Army or Navy, divided across the lines of our greatest sports tradition. So, cadets and midshipmen at ease. Permission to go nuts and enjoy this day. On a beautiful Baltimore day, College GameDay proudly salutes the enduring power, the pageantry, and the poignance of a rivalry unlike any other. For the 115th time today, it is Army versus Navy.
ESPN College GameDay. We're coming to your city.
And we're coming to your city. Well, we rolled right through Death Valley, Boomer Sooner, and Gig the Maggies, threw our longhorns up and all step along the way. We rolled tide, rolled through Alabama, hit 'em hard at the arm in Stanford, put our hands up for the War Eagle on the plains. Rock the blues from the gas, roll right down, turn it down my heart drum. Put on USC, the Buckeyes, and Georgia Dogs. Check it out, now there's no doubt how the Game Day crew makes them scream out loud. To a packed house, the show that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Breaking down the matchup when powerhouses meet. With Foul or Show, Ted, David, and Kurt, you know ESPN is putting in that work. Like fourth and goal, get ready to play. It's time to kick off your first College GameDay. And we're coming to your city. If you want a little bang in your yin yang, if you want a little sing in your soul, if you want a little ching in your chest, come along, come along, come along, yeah. Yeah, we're coming to your city.
College GameDay, live from Baltimore, Maryland, is built by the Home Depot. Proud sponsor of college football's premier pregame show.
6 hours from kickoff, when a game that will be viewed around the globe, wherever our forces are deployed. Balmy, Baltimore, hosting Army Navy for only the 5th time. This is Navy's backyard, the Academy in Annapolis, about 22 miles in a straight line from here. But the folks from West Point here in huge numbers, and an Army boat is even sailed into Baltimore's Inner Harbor. The large tug, Major General Anthony Wayne, part of the backdrop. We are certainly honored to have both cadets and midshipmen behind us here. Welcome to College GameDay from Army Navy for the very first time. All of us in this family could not be more proud to be here. Desmond Howard, Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, and Lee Corso. All of us kind of feel proud to be here, but you feel this rivalry a little bit deeper than the rest of us, Mr. Corso.
Well, you know what, you guys, 47 years ago, as a Navy assistant, I bet the Army coach we'd beat him, and we did. Navy 19, Army 14. I won this robe. And then every Saturday morning of the Army-Navy game, I wear it for 47 years. It is one of my most prized possessions. I just love it.
Even though it's a West Point robe.
Yes, I won it. I won it.
That's cool.
It took it.
19 years. I've been looking at that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Coach has been talking about this game for years, and we've never had the opportunity. This is fantastic. I mean, it's so significant to be here. We got our guys behind us, the midshipmen and the cadets. The opening was just amazing. It's just something very special about this atmosphere. Kirk and I, we went to Radio Row yesterday. I've only been to one game in my life where they had a radio row. It was the Super Bowl, so it lets you know the significance of this game.
Yeah, we had a chance to go to Harvard, Yale this year, and that was, I think, significant for all of us. And now to be at Army and Navy this year, in the same year for College Game Day, has just been amazing. And you know, just to put it all in perspective in this day and age of arguing about who should be in the Final Four and who should not be, how about the Navy seniors on this football team? Over half the seniors, when they're done, their service, after they're done at Navy, they're signing up for the Marines. That kind of gives you an indication of what this really is all about.
Yeah, we'll talk about the game and the greater mission of both academies. We'll visit with both head coaches, Jeff Monken, Ken Niumatalolo. And for the first time, according to research on both sides, you've got a coach in Monken who was at the Naval Academy as an assistant to Paul Johnson for 6 years. Now the head coach at West Point. So we'll visit with him coming up as well. You know, this is very different. This is also the backdrop of these cadets and midshipmen know it. There's a streak in play here because in 2001, which is a few months after the tragedies of September 11th, President Bush visited both teams. That was the last time Army beat Navy. Amari Thompson, a 60-yard run by Ardell Daniels, 42-yard pass from Chad Jenkins, Ryan Bruton, Brian Zickafoose, and that Army defense really limited the Navy offense. It was a huge day, and see the passion, teams singing after the game regardless of the outcome. But since that day, a 12-year naval dominance, only 2 games decided by single digits. It's a streak that is historically unique among the fiercest rivalries. Ohio State, Michigan, Auburn, Alabama, OU, Texas, UCLA, USC. None of those rivalries feature a run longer than 9 years. Today, the Army seniors are determined, maybe even desperate. But the Navy seniors are defiant. Who'd want to be the class to surrender that streak? Of course, beyond the boundaries of the football field, there's the larger mission of the academies and the lasting brotherhood of the men on both sides.
What makes Army-Navy special is the fact that we didn't come here just to play football. We didn't come here just to go to school. It's that after we graduate, we're going to do something real special and protect this country.
So many great men have come before us and played in this game and have gone on to do stellar things for our country.
I think the nation recognizes what the game really stands for, and it's not just about football.
Being able to get together with the opposing team after the game, win or lose, being there for each other's alma mater, you know, just kind of symbolizes what this game's all about.
I think it's the greatest rivalry in sports, any level, any sport. Just the kinds of young men that are going to fight the battle against each other and how special they are to the future of our country.
So what makes Army-Navy special is just knowing after the game's over, when the final whistle blows, instead of being rivals on the field, we're going to be fighting on the same field together.
From the march on, which will happen in just a few hours, the post-game emotions, it is a special day. In the streak, you can see the Navy has outscored Army by an average of 22 points per game. They've doubled the rushing yards. Both of these teams, of course, ground-based option attacks. Last year, Navy won 34-7. The games in 2011 and 2012 were very close. This year's midshipmen are 6-5. Poinsettia Bowl bound, led by junior Keenan Reynolds. 61 career rushing touchdowns, most ever for a quarterback. Back healthy, ultra efficient in the red zone. Navy's D features linebacker Jordan Drake, unrecruited out of high school, blossomed into the team's top tackler. Army's workhorse is Larry Dixon, a 3,000-yard career rusher. It's his final game today, desperate to beat Navy. And Angel Santiago, the quarterback for Army, occasionally he did a big pass play, maybe to break open these ground games. That hasn't been his strength. Got to make a play today, perhaps, for Army to pull the upset. The cadets are 15-point underdogs to Navy in this game today.
Besides the history and the tradition, this is still a football game where these guys want to win this game. And one of the stories that really stood out to me this week is about Larry Dixon. Here's a guy as a sophomore 2 years ago. Army has a chance to end the streak. They're driving with a chance to win the game and beat Navy. He fumbles inside the 20-yard line with a minute to go as a sophomore. He's now back as the leading rusher his senior year. You want to keep an eye on a guy that can play with passion and and with conviction. Keep an eye on number 26 for Army. I'm anxious to see how he plays in this game.
Now, one of the things about Navy that I really respect is they started the season off 2-4, and they thought things could get away from it. It wasn't the coaches, though. It was the co-captains that kept the team together, and then they moved forward, knowing that these guys, Parrish Gaines and Noah Copeland, guys who they respect. Copeland is a guy who obviously lost his position, and then he was plagued with injuries, but now he's having the best statistical season of his career. When the guys in the locker room, when they see this from your co-captains, then it helps them put their nose to the grind and then keep going forward, and they were able to turn their season around. So you got to give a lot of respect to Navy for that.
Yeah, Des, I coached in 3 Army-Navy games. And what makes this game different is the fact that you are representing the entire Navy personnel throughout the world. They're counting on you to win this game because they want bragging rights for a year. There's tremendous pressure on everybody, but I loved it. Army, Navy, there's nothing like it, believe me, nothing like it in this world.
Special.
I think we agree. I think that whether or not you follow college football week in, week out, there's something that draws you to this game. The tradition, the history is so great, and we'll explore a lot of that coming up. Army's coming off the longest layoff in the regular season of any team, any time. 21 days since their last game. They've had 3 weeks. They've had 12 practices to get ready for this game. Navy's had 2 weeks, including 1 week of physical, full pads hitting that's like preseason camp. So the buildup has been intense on both sides.
3 weeks off. You know, it's great to get healthy at the end of the year. Also tough to try to maintain that timing and rhythm that you get into a routine.
Plus, they go to school.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Classes.
Yeah, there's that too, right? Now, before we move on, full disclosure, the folks in Colorado Springs will only remind you that Air Force did beat both of these teams in Air Force Commander-in-Chief.
Hey.
Ooh.
Ouch.
And further,
this guy,
ex-senior airman Nick Cialo is at the controls. Our producer's an Air Force guy. That'll get you together. Oh, God. That's when the producer's been lustily at a college game day. Hey, Kirk, besides, of course, Army-Navy game, and it's great this game has a showcase to itself. Tonight, of course, is Heisman Trophy night in New York City. And a unique opportunity for the bald man. Scott Van Pelt went to Annapolis to find out what it really means to be a midshipman. College Game Day from Army-Navy coming right back.
College Game Day is built by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. And in part by Coke Zero. Show us how you count down to game day with hashtag #CountdownToZero.
It's a taste of the Patriot Games. Two-day competition between cadets and midshipmen began Friday at Fort McHenry.
Oh, big lead there.
Physical challenges, tug of war. Mental challenges, too, that draw on leadership.
Who won, do you know? You didn't get the results?
We'll get the results. I bet they know behind us here. Log on to ESPN.com, search Chevrolet to play Chevrolet Virtual Saturday Selections. Stay tuned for Saturday Selections later on in the show. We'll be joined by Roger Staubach.
Classic.
I like that.
Boy, Jameis doesn't miss a beat. Every week.
Doing a lot of
made the Army.
We'll show you some of the very creative signs that these folks have found time in busy weeks, right? Time management's a key. Someone found a few extra minutes to make some sign for us here. M&T Bank Stadium is the scene of this year's game. It was just a short walk here from the Inner Harbor. America's game, you can see spelled out on the seats. Home of the Ravens there. That's a very, very tough ticket. You go on StubHub or Ticketcity.com. It's going to cost you a few $100 to get in there.
Absolutely.
Of course, we will jump on the Excel. Of course, there have been 3 Heisman winners from West Point, 2 from Annapolis. Felix Doc Blanchard in 45, Mr. Inside, 7 carries, including a touchdown that beat Navy, a legendary drive. He ripped his knee up, and Glenn Davis won the Heisman the following year, one of the great athletes in Academy history. Classic 46 game. Pete Dawkins, captain, class president, football captain, Rhodes Scholar, 3 gallantry crosses, 2 Bronze Stars, Distinguished Service Medal. Joe Bellino was Navy's first Heisman Trophy winner in 1960, 5 career touchdowns against Army. And then,
there it is, my guy.
He followed up the brilliant 62 win over Army with a landslide Heisman season in 1963, a 9-win Navy team, 4 years as a naval officer. And of course, Roger Staubach will join us coming up.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
Great pictures. In 1960, I coached against Joe Bellino when I was in Maryland against the Navy. He beat us right here in Maryland. The game was played in Maryland with a punt return. And Roger Staubach, he was the best athlete I've ever seen play college.
Really?
Best right there.
Oh,
exactly.
The best.
There have been other members of the Heisman family who have also had military careers. Angelo Bertelli was called to duty after 6 games at Notre Dame. His Heisman winning season. He was actually down in Marine training in Paris Island when he was notified he'd won the Heisman Trophy. Of course, he ended up fighting in the Battle of Iwo Jima in the Pacific. Niall Kinnock, 1939 Heisman Trophy winner, killed engine failure on a training flight. Also, we're going to have Army and Navy football players predict the outcome of the playoffs.
That'd be great.
Everybody's interested, including them.
Yeah.
They come from somewhere. They're fans of other teams.
There you go.
Interviews with the coaches in this Army-Navy game. Jeff Munkin, Navy coach Ken Niumatalolo, old rivals Roger Staubach and Rolly Stitchway are also good friends. And look ahead to tonight's Heisman presentation. The Cheez-It, a real fan cam. Zooming over the Inner Harbor and the fans in Section 0, the best seats in the house. Brought to you by Coke Zero. The coaches are together. They shared duties on the Navy staff some time ago on opposite sidelines today. Jeff Monken and Ken Niumatalolo will join us coming up right after this on College Game Day from Army-Navy.
There are many great traditions in college football. Dotting the I, rubbing the rock, the midnight yell. But the greatest may be the simplest. It's symbol of service and for some, of sacrifice. It is called the March On. Before kickoff of every Navy home game and every Army-Navy game, they take the field. Not the team, the brigade, and the corps. Company by company, midshipman by midshipman, cadet by cadet. The entire student bodies of the respective academies, more than 9,000 strong. In that assembly, there is a plain meaning and solemn message. It says, we're ready. For the day's challenge, the season's charge, the nation's duty. And while they stand upon bright fields of game days, they know they will face hostile seas and combat zones soon enough. If so, they will do then as now. They will stand together. They will march on.
And 12:16 today, the march on begins. Navy into M&T Bank Stadium. They get there well before kickoff, which is at 3 o'clock this afternoon. The 115th chapter as Army tries to snap that 12-year Navy winning streak. Of course, there is the greater mission, and look at the impressive partial list of jobs for the Army class of 2015. Adjutant General, 2 players will have that role. Air Defense Artillery, Armor, Engineers. 9 have signed on for field artillery duty, and 7 for the infantry. Military Intelligence, 2 members. Ordnance, 2. Quartermaster, 2. And down the line, we'll show you the Navy jobs for the class of 2015 coming up. Long history of this rivalry, Kirk, but you're with the man that has an absolutely unique perspective. Army coach Jeff Munkin is familiar with both sides on this rivalry.
Yeah, you're right about that, Chris. And before we get into that, I'd love to just ask you, you and Ken spent some time, obviously, in Hawaii. He was a player. You were at GA. Then you GA'd together. 6 years at Navy. What was that like?
That was fantastic, and just a tremendous opportunity at both places for me to work for some great head coaches. And Kenny's a dear friend of mine. We spent a lot of time together in the staff room and on the sidelines and in practice. And he's a remarkable football coach and a great friend.
You're the only coach to ever be an assistant on one side, you're 6 years at Navy, to become a head coach on the other. In the history of this game, what's the difference between Army and Navy?
I'm glad to be on the right side of the rivalry. That 6 years at Navy, the only blemish on my resume.
When you got this job, you made it very clear that you wanted to make this game unique. You wanted to embrace the heat and the emotion of it by putting Beat Navy signs all over your facility. Why do you want to do that?
It's an important game. There's not a bigger game in college football than this game. It's a great rivalry. It means so much to both institutions, certainly to the players on our team and the students at our school, and all the men and women that serve all over the world.
For people that aren't familiar with it, what makes it unique? You've been around the game of college football. You've been around other rivalries. What makes this game so unique?
These institutions are more closely related and more similar than any two other colleges in the country. And I think what these two schools mean to this country and what this game means to this country, the future leaders that everybody around America and everybody around the world is going to be able to watch today is really incredible.
Talk about the culture change and what you're trying to do at West Point and trying to get this program, let's be honest, kind of where Navy is. That's what you're trying to mirror their success. How is that going, and talk about that transition?
I haven't had the experience with Paul Johnson, who was the head coach at Navy for 6 years. Kenny and I both were assistants under Paul. We went to Navy in 2002. It was eerily similar. Had not had sustained success in a long time. Had not had the Commander-in-Chief's trophy in 22 years. And then after struggling our first year, went to 5 straight bowl games and won the Commander-in-Chief's trophy each of those years. So it's very similar, and we're going to change it, and it takes time. Those things don't happen overnight, but it's just what a wonderful place to coach. Great bunch of young men, and when the U.S. Army goes out to fight, the American people expect the Army to win, and when the American people watch the United States Army's representative, which is Army football, go out and play, we ought to win too, and we're going to.
Last question. This game is different. Who are you playing for today?
We're playing for all those men and women who are laying out in a foxhole somewhere, in a cave, eating dirt, on the front lines, putting their lives on the line so all of us could enjoy this day. That's who we're fighting for, and that's who we're playing for today.
Well, good luck to you today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for everything, bud.
Beat Navy.
There you go. Chris.
All right, Kirk, thank you. Equal time now. Ken Niumatalolo of Navy joins us here. There's some jokes, Ken. There's a friendship between coaches, but there's also an unmatched intensity in this game. Your team has the winning streak. They're the big favorites today. What's it like in that locker room as kickoff against Army approaches?
It's pretty quiet as guys start to get ready. They recognize what time it is. You know, as a freshman, you're not allowed to say many things at the academy. But one thing you're able to say is, go Navy, beat Army. And so those guys recognize it's time. And those are some great signs that Jeff's made up, but it's going to take more than signs to beat us.
Yeah. Listen, I was an assistant, and I felt a lot of pressure in this game. But how much pressure do you feel in this game?
You know, there's pressure every game.
Oh, yeah, but this one...
There's a reason. I try to lose weight. I keep gaining weight. You know what I mean? So the pressure in this job, the pressure to win games, the pressure to beat Army is always there. But fortunately, I got great assistants and great players, and, you know, we prepared, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Coach, I wouldn't be the guy that I am if I didn't compliment you on your strong tie game. That's making a statement right there. I love your tie. Tell us about your dad and his influence on you as a coach and as a man today.
Well, I didn't recognize it, you know, early on in my career, but just the way I started to be a head coach. Very grateful to Paul Johnson. You know, Jeff and I, and Ivan Jasper, our offensive coordinator, we consider ourselves Jedi Knights. We learned the option from Yoda and Paul Johnson. But the way I lead is by my dad. You know, my dad was a cook for 23 years in the Coast Guard, became a manager of a restaurant, but he never sat in his office. He was out with the cooks, cooking, or with the bakers, knew all of their names. And I want to be that same way. I didn't want to be somebody up in a tower and pointing to people and doing things. I wanted to be in the mix with everybody else.
You know, Desmond referenced earlier, you guys battle Ohio State deep into the fourth quarter here in Baltimore in the opener. But at one point, you were 2-4. You had to turn things around. You suffered some close losses. What are you most proud of this Navy football team this season to get to this point? To again be bowl bound for 11 times in a 12-year period.
Chris, we probably went through the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my 25 years of coaching. This past year, we had a young man pass away. And there's nothing that prepares you for that. but it was our senior leadership and our captains, you know, Noah Copeland, Parrish Gaines, they led us through. But our guys recognized we were in 2 and 4. We could have won all of our games. You know, we were in every single game. We were leading Ohio State, you know, late in the 3rd quarter. We were ahead of Notre Dame in the 4th. So our guys recognized that we're not far off. We just need to continue to play, don't panic, and just, you know, just stay the course.
What has won games for Navy over Army in recent years? Taking care of the ball and being disciplined. Very few penalties.
I want to say one thing. Go Navy, beat Army.
Today, of course, you're not just a proud Navy man, you're also a proud Hawaiian. And with potentially a Navy win over Army and Marcus Mariota expected to win the Heisman in New York, this could be one of the great days for Hawaiian football history. He certainly admires you. He told me last night. What are your feelings for a fellow Hawaiian perhaps winning the Heisman?
More than anything, he's a phenomenal football player, but I'm so proud of the way he carries himself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, today's college sports and professional sports, to have a young man of that magnitude and how good he is, the way he carries himself, more than anything tells you what kind of parents he has. Comes from a great home that have taught him great core values. And to me, that's the biggest thing. Very proud of the way he handles himself.
And you should be. I think he's very proud of being a Hawaiian and how that philosophy, that humility feeds into his game. Navy's got a very sweet look for this game, by the way. You see the naval uniforms on the left there. Under Armour, don't tread on me. That rattlesnake winding around the end. That's a unique look for today.
It's pretty sweet. You know, sometimes some of our alumni don't really like the new uniforms, but
yeah, I know.
You don't like that helmet? That's a sweet helmet.
Like
no, the helmet's awesome.
The recruits like it. So.
That's most important.
That rattlesnake winding around the first Navy jacket. Army will be in the all-black uniforms with the gold numeral. That's a different look for them as well. We thank both coaches on a very, very busy and important day for joining us. Ken Niumatalolo and Jeff Monken firing up the underdog cadets. His Black Knights will take on the midshipmen in a few hours. Again, thanks to both coaches. College Game Day will return. Some life will change forever tonight.
It's hard to describe. The sense of honor, tradition, camaraderie, it's all there on the field.
I've been playing here on Fort Meade for the last 4 years. I'm going to be here until they tell me it's time to leave.
For people to come and watch, that means I'm doing something right.
The entire base comes out there. You want to represent as best as you can.
1, 2, 3, Army!
Every single play, you need to be given 110% effort. If you do that, we can't be beaten.
It's important to us that everyone knows this is the Navy, and this is who we represent. The Navy! Yeah.
Defense gonna always win this game.
Go Army, beat Navy!
Hey, the name on the front is a lot more important than the name on the back.
We shall not fall! We shall not fall! Go Navy! Beat Army!
Whether it's flag football or pad football, you know, showing Army how we do it.
This game is a representation of the greatness that is our military. We come out here and we celebrate not our differences, but our similarities.
I mean, we can have the same camaraderie when we overseas deployed out here on that 100-yard field. It's smash mouth football.
You know, it's all in, you know, but we do know and understand that we are still on the same team, the same fight.
Go, Daddy! Get up! Get up!
Those are my brothers. There would be nothing that they wouldn't do for me off the field that they wouldn't do on the field. When we're off overseas together, we look out for each other. When we're home, we look out for each other. That's what this means.
College Game Day, built by the Home Depot, is brought to you by USAA, presenting sponsor of the Army-Navy game and the rivalry on military bases around the world.
115th Army-Navy game. This is the 15th Army versus Navy flag football game Fort Meade, Maryland, up the road here. They tell us that you're not supposed to keep score.
Oh, my God. You got to keep score. I don't care what we're playing. We're keeping
exactly. Rivalry is a serious deal, whether it's played in a big stadium or just a field with like a couple people watching.
Oh, yeah.
These games happen all around the world.
It's fun and games till somebody gets hurt.
Oh, yeah. Which probably did happen, right? By the way, the U Part 2 tonight at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. It follows the Heisman Trophy show. 2001, Miami unleashed a storm of talent and swagger upon college football. 38 future NFLers beat people by an average of 33 points. ESPN Films presents a 30 for 30 film brought to you by Infinity. The U Part 2, 9 o'clock Eastern tonight. Here's a taste. Eastern Time. Coming up, more on Army-Navy, the history between these two academies, unmatched by any rivalry in the sport. We'll examine the traditions, heroes, and champions of the series and chat with two gentlemen who are a huge part of that history. Roger Staubach and Rolly Stitchway. Army leading his friend and former rival from those games in the early 60s. Roger Staubach to our set in Baltimore right after this.
College Game Day, built by the Home Depot, is brought to you by USAA, presenting sponsor of the Army-Navy game and the rivalry on military bases around the world. The Cheez-It Real Fan of the Week is brought to you by Cheez-It, because at Cheez-It, real cheese matters.
Our Cheez-It Real Fan of the Week, we salute Taylor Brown from Blackwell, Oklahoma. He says, I am the 12th Knight. I am almost as crazy as Colonel Ragsdale. Only missed 2 Army away games this year. He sleeps in his Longo on game day. Thank you, Taylor, for being here. Coke Zero counting us down. And we salute now the folks from the Academy in Annapolis who played in the NFL. Roger Staubach, of course, 2-1 in his Navy career versus Army. Wins in 62-63. Bill McConkey, before he won a Super Bowl with the Giants, starred for strong Navy teams. About a touchdown versus Army in 76. Napoleon McCallum, class of 86, before his Raiders career, routed Army in the Rose Bowl. His final game in Navy, outgained Army's team with 217 rushing yards. And Max Lane, a stalwart on the Patriots offensive line. His final Navy game was a gut-wrenching 93 classic. Midshipman rallied from a 16-down loss and a missed chip shot field goal. There's the scene, M&T Bank Stadium for the 115th chapter of this rivalry as Club Zero counts us down to kickoff in a little bit less than 5 hours, just a short walk away here from the Inner Harbor. Tom, they've played this since 1890. It doesn't look or feel like any other sporting event on the calendar. You don't have to watch football any other day to appreciate this game, do you?
Chris, you and I both know that football coaches can tend to be a pretty hardened lot, but when ESPN polled the 128 head coaches of the FBS as to the greatest tradition in college football, Army-Navy was picked as #1. Proof that as much as coaches want to live in the present, they value the past. Army-Navy isn't a game. Teams play games. They take missions. This is a fierce and living history of the sport. Traditions, champions, greats. First played in 1890, for much of the first half of the 20th century, it was a showcase between national powers. Under Red Blake, Army won 3 national championships 3 years in a row, from 1944 to 46. Featuring Mr. Inside.
Like 200 pounds of TNT, Blanchard blasts his way over the Navy goal line.
And Mr. Outside.
He's off to the promised land 27 yards away.
Doc Blanchard and Glenn Davis. They both won the Heisman. Perhaps more important, neither ever lost to Navy. Navy won its only national title in 1926. The undefeated midshipmen capped their season by fighting Army to a 21-21 tie in front of more than 110,000 in the first football game ever played in Soldier Field. In 1963, in the wake of the assassination of President Kennedy, as some contemplated canceling the game, Jackie Kennedy urged the teams to play. Quarterback Roger Staubach led #2 Navy to victory as Army failed to get a playoff at the 2-yard line as time expired. Staubach would win the Heisman. President Eisenhower played for Army, and so did Newt Rockne. Vince Lombardi coached there, and so did Bill Parcells. But for all the pedigree, it's Navy which has dominated lately.
15-10, 5, touchdown, Navy!
12 in a row, the longest streak in their shared history. Ultimately, it's what's shared that makes it singular. In future days, far from these fields, they will join battles far greater, lead men far deeper. Land and sea, battalion and fleet, Army and Navy. The fight is theirs. The honor is ours.
Well said, Tom. The all-time series history, Navy has the lead by virtue of the current 12-game winning streak. They've split the 4 games here in Baltimore. If you look at the total points scored, about a field goal per game difference over the 114 meetings. Of course, Tom made reference to the game in 1963, a poignant and tragic backdrop unlike any other. Pat Donnelly for Navy had a great day. Midshipman would lead 21-7 with 10 minutes to play in the final quarter. Rollie Stitchway rolls into the end zone, his second touchdown of the game. Army goes for 2, makes it, and then Stitchway recovers the onside kick, trying to go for the win. Stopped short of the goal line, stuffed by Navy, and then time would expire and tick down before Army could run potentially the game-winning play. 21-15, midshipman over the Black Knights of the Hudson. We are honored to have both Rollie Stitchway and Roger Staubach join us here. Great friends now, of course, on the opposite sidelines in several games in the early 60s. There were 100,000 people watch Army-Navy in those days in Philadelphia. Describe the importance on the sporting landscape and what it felt like to play in those games.
Well, in '63, as Roger and I have talked about over the years, it was the whole country was devastated by the assassination of John Kennedy. And so I think that game had a lot to do with helping the country basically transition back and look forward rather than look back.
Roger, I haven't had a chance to tell this in person to you. In 61 years of college football, I have never seen a player as good as Roger Staubach. You were the greatest football player I've ever seen play the game.
Well, that's awfully nice of you, Lee.
It's true, and I waited a long time to tell you that, but I finally got to tell you. Well, what kind of emotions did you feel before, during, and after that game?
Well, the Army-Navy game in '61, I was a plebe. We couldn't play varsity football, so I was sitting in the stands with 100,000 people, and I'm thinking, you know, am I going to ever be out there someday? So in '62, that's the most nervous I've ever been for a Army-Navy game, and we won the '62 game. '63, we had a fantastic season, and Rollie Stitchway almost ruined our whole season. He had a phenomenal football game. The score was 21-7 in the second half, and I never got the ball back. Rollie took over, went in and scored on a long drive, got the onside kick, went in and almost scored again. But winning that game was very important to our '63 season because that was one of the great Navy seasons, was '63.
How many times, Rollie, have you wished if you could have a few more seconds at the end of the 1963 game to perhaps win the game?
Well, I think Roger would agree that had we had a few more seconds, Army would have scored and we would have gotten the game. I don't know.
But you wanted to set the record straight. In '64, you did get a little bit of revenge, right?
We, '64, we did have our head-to-head rematch, and Army won the game against Roger and his team. '64. So we're happy about that.
Well, Army these days is desperate to get the win. Navy has that 12-game winning streak. What do you see that you like from Jeff Monken in his first year and the direction of the Black Knights program?
Jeff Monken asked me to visit with the team this past week, and basically what Jeff Monken said is if they're convinced they can win this game, they can win the game, even though Navy has an outstanding team, as Roger did back in those days.
For Coach Niumatalolo, there's the pressure, and the Navy seniors who do not want to be part of that class that loses the streak to Army, Roger.
Well, and actually in '64, the theme was even the score in '64. We would have been even with Army-Navy for the history. So it's kind of out of whack now a little bit with a 12-game winning streak. You know, we pull for Navy like crazy. We don't want to rub it in by any means because there's still a respect. I think that's really important. Off the field, the respect, because we're together defending this country, and we're in it together off the field, but on the field we want to win, and that's the only way to do it is try to win.
Tell us, how does it feel to go to the other stands and sing the alma mater to them at the end of the game?
It just
no
feels,
place in America.
It just feels good, Lee. It's just a way of doing things. Again, it's off the field. On that field, we are so competitive. We want to win that game with everything we have. Off the field, we really respect and honor each other.
Of course, the president is so closely linked with the past when we have rivalries like this. Rolly, what will you be feeling when you watch Army-Navy today? What kind of emotions?
Well, I feel very personal about this team. We've worked with this team, and again, it has been a long streak, and this bunch of Army players are really, really ready to go out there today. And we want to see them do well, and we want to see them win. So,
82nd Airborne, served in Vietnam, so we thank you for your service as well as your excellence. Roger Staubach, of course, 4 years as a naval officer as well. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. Good luck to both Army and Navy, and we appreciate you being here.
Go Navy, beat Army.
Roger's back to pick games a little bit later on in the show. He snuck that in there, Rolly. One of the many spirit videos made for both Army and Navy. Naval Academy has its turn right now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Rylan, and I'm in the Navy. Now, I know what you may be wondering. With the Army versus Navy football game coming soon, who should you root for? I'm not going to tell you who to root for. That's your decision. But I will tell you one difference between the Army and the Navy. And that is, in the Navy, we give a ship. To the fleet, and to America.
I give a ship. Yeah, I give a ship too.
We all give a ship.
Now I know what you may be asking. What kind of ships do we give? All kinds. Carriers, destroyers, friendships. No, wrong one. Friendships, and most importantly, big gas ships.
Big ass.
What kind of ships does Army give? None.
I wish we gave a ship.
Yeah, I wish we gave a ship too. Now come December 13th, Navy will play Army. And for the 13th year in a row, we'll give a ship. Because if it's one thing, in the Navy, we give a ship, and we don't give up the ship.
Countdown to Kickoff is brought to you by Coke Zero. Show us how you count down to game day with hashtag Countdown to Zero.
Section Zero's had some crazies with us all season long. We are proud today here in Baltimore to have Colonel Gadsden in Section Zero this week. He played for West Point, director of the Wounded Warrior Program, honorary member of the New York Giants, motivational speaker, a double amputee, sitting in the front of Section Zero, surrounded by cadets and midshipmen today. We salute Colonel Gadsden. Thank you for being here. Around the world, they're watching Bagger Manfield in Afghanistan, U.S. Forces Afghanistan. This is the kind of rivalry that is watched around the globe wherever our men and women serve, and they are invested and inspired to watch what happens here in Baltimore. So, you know, the many folks who have great memories of watching this game and have been stirred by Army-Navy. There was a young high school football player on Long Island.
Yes, Chris, when Tom Cutella made his first ever trip to West Point to see an Army football game, he was so excited that he called his parents back on Long Island and he said, "This is where I want to be. This is what I aspire to." He was 10 years old at the time. Tom was meant for West Point, and his path was taking him there. And then several months ago, the path changed.
When I think of Tom Cutella, I think, wow, how lucky I would be if I could have a son who would grow up like him. Tom was the best kid I ever met.
Nice, Dave!
He always did the right thing. He did the right thing when no one was looking. I think of a young man who made a decision at a very young age
that he was going to serve and lead.
Thomas Cutella.
Everyone, it seemed, loved Tom Cutella. Maybe that's because Tom Cutella loved everyone back.
Family.
Absolutely.
Would be the #1 love. Friends. And I would say his country. Thomas's dream would have been to go to West Point. And then I think it would have just been to serve his country.
The dream grew stronger as a 16-year-old linebacker and offensive guard began his junior season at Shoreham-Wading River High School. The Wildcats had never won a Long Island championship, but Cutella wanted to change all that.
Tom had called a players-only meeting because he felt we were a talented team and we were a good team, but we were missing something. So, although we had 4 senior captains, the vocal leader 3 days into practice was Tom Cutella.
Whatever he said, it worked. Cutella and the Wildcats won their first 3 games of the season. Then came their October 1st game at John Glenn High School. The Wildcats led 17-12 late in the 3rd quarter.
We called a play in which Tom pulls and to block his opponent. After the play, somebody from upstairs had said down onto the headphones that Danny Hughes, our quarterback, was down. And I said, no, it's Tommy. And that's when we knew something was wrong.
I jumped in the car and drove to the hospital and was there with family, with the players, the coaches, until they announced that Tommy had passed.
Cutella had suffered a fatal head injury.
Life will never be the same for us.
Go.
Football does not have the value it did prior to that day in my life.
When Tom passed, the mental health team said to me, Mrs. Mitchell, can you do me a favor and just make us a list of some of Tom's closest friends? I said, that's impossible. Tom was friends with everybody.
A family grieved. A community mourned. That's when Buddy Gangler, a West Point grad and war veteran, contacted a friend.
I called Bob Beretta, who's now the executive athletic director at Army. I said, Bob, you have to read about this kid. He was destined to go to West Point, and he was taken from us tragically, and our town is destroyed. Is there anything Army can do to help this family?
We can do the minimum, the very minimum, send a jersey and a note, but we can take it to the next level. And I thought, of course, absolutely, we'll do whatever we can.
Army coach Jeff Monken took it from the minimum and did much more. He not only sent a jersey, but also an official scholarship offer.
He loved West Point. He wanted to be a cadet. He wanted to serve his country. We'd like to offer him a scholarship.
But Monken didn't stop there. There was a handwritten letter, too.
On behalf of the entire West Point football program, please accept my sincerest and deepest sympathy in this time of great loss for your family.
From all I have read about Tom, he was the kind of young man that everyone would want on their team.
Loving, committed, dedicated, gracious, and service-minded.
I understand that Tom had a desire to attend the United States Military Academy.
I know that he embodied all that our nation's service academies represent, America's best. Respectfully, Jeff Monken, head football coach, United States Military Academy.
Tom Cutella was gone, but not forgotten.
The players themselves, they never verbally said, we're going to do this for Tom, but I think that was part of it.
Quietly inspired by the memory of Cutella, the Wildcats won their next game and kept winning. They won their first ever county championship, and on the way home, stopped to see an old friend.
We stopped at the cemetery and left that plaque there for him. It was something that he really wanted.
In the Long Island Championship, sophomore linebacker Kevin Cutella helped carry his brother's jersey onto the field.
So much symbolism in the form of number 54 on this night at Stony Brook.
Every time that the Wildcats had possession of the ball, I would just pray to Thomas, just use your angel wings and bring them in.
Into the end zone, and the Wildcats are on the board.
And it worked.
For the first time ever, the Wildcats are Long Island champions.
Tom was destined to be West Point cadet, and I think that team was destined for victory.
About 3 months before the season began, Tom Cutella, on his 16th birthday, signed up to be an organ donor. His parents say he was a giver in life and in death, also a giver. Several of his organs have already impacted other people's lives. And Chris, here today with us are members of that Wildcats football team, including his younger brother Kevin, and they brought with them the Rutgers Trophy, which goes to the #1 team in their county regardless of size.
Gino, thank you. We thank the Cutella family for sharing their story, for telling us all what kind of a guy Tom was. And Wildcats, congratulations. We thank you for being here and sharing your story. Guys, there's the trophy right down there. And certainly enjoy the Army-Navy football game today. The Wildcats, all the way from Long Island, our guests, and of course, guests of Army, the Army-Navy game. Guys, well done. And welcome back to Baltimore's Inner Harbor. We said that as busy as the midshipmen of the cadets are during their week, we found time to make some signs.
Oh, yeah, always time.
And by the way, mutual respect, there's a whole lot of ribbing back and forth.
Yeah.
Robbie and Roger and Rolly were talking about the respect. These guys back here behind us, there's a lot of back and forth.
A little chippy.
A little bit. Hug from Herb Street was #1 of the Christmas hits.
There you go.
Celery for Santa. Sometimes you wonder where they get a Coast Guard. Shout out for Coast Guard. Coast Guard over Air Force.
Cool scene here.
It's the Army boat. The major tug behind us. The Army just sailed in and took over the waters.
I would not have been able to predict that.
See the real fan cam zooming over there. Sail Army, says the banner. Of course, the National Championship Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper, awarded in Arlington, Texas on the evening of January 12th. The semifinals, of course, the Rose Bowl, presented by Northwestern Mutual, and the All-State Sugar Bowl New Year's Day. We asked the Army and Navy players for predictions on this year's winner in the inaugural year of the playoff.
I think Alabama will win the college football playoffs. Nick Saban, the way he runs his football team, the way that they do things over there at Alabama, their team is just unbelievable.
I'm going to go with Florida State just because no matter what, they seem to come up with all kinds of victories in all kinds of situations.
What Oregon has done the entire year, only losing one game to a pretty good Arizona team early in the season. As of right now, to be honest, I'm not really sure who's going to win it.
I just think Alabama's a real complete team, great defense, great offense.
Special teams, defense, offense. They got a great team. I'd like to see somebody that, can try and stop them.
On game day from Army-Navy, a day in the life of a midshipman. Not your typical college experience. Just ask the bald man, Scott Van Pelt, who went to Annapolis.
Hey, it's the bald man on campus here in Annapolis where the words "Go Navy, Beat Army" are written on everything from the weights to the M&Ms. Now, the weights are obviously useless to me. It's not like I'm Fowler. I'm going to come in here and bust off some hack squats. The M&Ms, on the other hand, that I can work with.
I got no problem with M&Ms either, Scott. You will not hear Beat Army in this coming video. This is the Army Spirit video. Counterpoint to what we heard earlier from the folks at Navy.
Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. I don't know if you were counting. Let's hit 1,000. You want to be strong? You want to look like me? You want to look like that guy? You all right, little buddy?
Yeah, I'm in the Navy.
Pathetic. Obviously, here in the Army, we do things a little bit differently. Hey, Navy guy, what happened to you?
He got beat pretty badly.
Pathetic. On game day, don't be like this guy. Go Army.
Well, for the last several years on game, we've enjoyed having Scott Van Pelt, the bald man on campus, travel the landscape, talk to players. It is safe to say he has never had an experience like the one he had this week at the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis. And he told me last night, never had as humbling a visit to a campus before. Here it is.
You're pushing your limits mentally and physically to attain the highest goals that you can. It's preparing you to lead the men and women of this country.
When I made the decision to come here, I knew it was going to be tough. I knew I was going to be giving up some things that my friends wouldn't.
It's one thing to be a college student. It's another thing to be a college student as a D1 athlete. It's another thing to be a college student as a D1 athlete as a midshipman. What's the hardest thing to figure out about managing your time and your day?
Basically, you should always be doing something. You have to utilize your time. You learn to get through it and not to complain about much. It's going to suck, but you just got to embrace the suck. So everybody's going to complain, but nobody cares. Just suck it up and go and do it.
I like that a lot. Embrace the suck.
See
if you can explain something to me here. What are these people doing? I heard something about yogurt and hard-boiled eggs, and then I have to tap out. This is what?
That's chow calls, so every plebe does it, and everybody that goes through here does it. So it's basically just learning the menu for what's going to be had for lunch, dinner, breakfast.
And this is what the freshmen do every single day of their freshman year?
Every single day, every single meal.
Couldn't you just put the menu on a whiteboard? We got some sandwiches.
Yeah, that would be a lot easier, yeah.
Right, but this isn't about easy.
They don't care about really what's for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They care about the fact that you've taken the time to now memorize something pretty fast.
Coach, how do you best describe what the Army Week represents?
It's everything for a school. When our guys come as freshmen, there's not many things that they're allowed to say without getting yelled at. But Go Navy Beat Army is one sentence they can say, knowing that there's probably not going to be any bad ramifications.
It's Beat Army. That's all you hear throughout the whole year. Everyone's always coming up, you ready? You ready for the big game? It doesn't matter who we're playing or who we beat, it's did you beat Army?
What's that moment like, waiting to sing after you've beaten Army?
It's just like an inner joy. You're like a little kid that's ready to go outside. The first time I really experienced that was truly something that I'll remember forever.
Now, among the service assignments for the Navy class of 15, linebacker Jordan Drake in the Supply Corps, Anthony Lewis, nuclear submarines. 10 players have chosen surface warfare as their assignment, and 14 players doing the Marine Corps ground. And that is not the easy way out. It's one of the highest percentages of Navy football players who've chosen the Marines. This fall, of course, Navy earned the program's 11th bowl bid in the last 12 years. 10 days from now, the Poinsettia Bowl against the host team, San Diego State. Their campaign began here in Baltimore. They battled a playoff team, Ohio State, led in the third quarter. It was a very close game with 9 minutes to play. They lost 4 games by 10 points or fewer, including one to Air Force, which did cost them the Commander-in-Chief trophy. To reinforce the importance of today's mission, 53 former Navy players from the 60s to last year's team visited Thursday's practice in Annapolis. For Army, this is their bowl. This is everything. Jeff Monken, a Paul Johnson protege, can signal a huge momentum shift in his first year at West Point. A last chance for a roster representing an incredible 36 states to send 36 seniors out a winner and end the dozen-year Navy reign.
When you hear about the streak, you know, it just kind of makes you cringe. You know, I've been a part of 3 of those already, and one thing that you can think about is just doing everything we can to try to stop it.
Around the campus, they're always like, you know, beat Army, like, do this and that, you know, beat Army, like, we're all here for you, like, get it 13 straight.
Being 0-3 as a senior is definitely something I want to change, but we can't change that. Going into this year, we're both 0-0.
We're not resting on the fact that we won 12 games in a row because this year, it's a new team on both ends, so we got to prepare and get ready to go.
nobody wants the streak to stop, and no senior class or no team wants to be the team that allowed the streak to stop.
Navy doesn't get any extra points because they've won last year than the previous years.
We won 13, and that's what we hope to walk out with.
Of course, it is old school option football. Army quarterback Angel Santiago, 1 touchdown pass this year and only 1 interception. But notice the Navy column. 3rd down percentage, moving the change, much better than Army, and they also have done a better job at limiting the big plays, tied for 3rd from opponents' plays of 20+ yards. Mentioned earlier, both teams getting healthier. For the offensive line on Army, it's been tough. They've started 10 different offensive line combos in the last 10 games. For Navy, Keenan Reynolds, Kirk, he has 61 career rushing touchdowns. That's 2 more than Eric Crouch and Colin Kaepernick, and he's only a junior.
It's amazing. He has such command of this offense. It's much like what we talked about last week with Paul Johnson, of course, in Georgia Tech, from the same family tree as far as the kind of offense that Keenan is running this year. And he's so effective in being able to make great decisions. Let's look at the Home Depot coaches playbook this week for Navy as they get ready for Army. And again, it's a lot of reads, a lot of quick decisions. When the defensive end stays wide, quarterback gives. We look at the offensive lineman climb to that 2nd level. That Lee always loves to see the guards get up to those linebackers and open up the middle for the fullback to get yards. Now when he collapses down, the quarterback makes that initial read. He sees that defensive end against Ohio State go down and tackle the ball carrier. He pulls it out, and he picks up more yards. That's a big factor today, I think, for Keenan in this game. This is the thing that I think really sets this offense apart. The defensive end collapses. This time he makes the pitch. Look at the blocks by the running backs and also the receivers downfield. That's a big key in this football game, is that stalk blocking, to be able to allow big room on the outside within this offense. I really think in this day and age with the spread, and you see people with a zone read from the shotgun, because of the success of Georgia Tech on a big stage last week, don't be shocked to see not just Army and Navy and Georgia Southern and Georgia Tech run this kind of offense. I think you're going to see more and more people be willing to take a chance, because this is a great equalizer kind of offense. If you have a quarterback that can make quick decisions, is athletic, you add a passing game to this at a big-time program like in the SEC or Big Ten, could do some damage.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, you're right about that, especially if you're undersized like a lot of these teams are. This is a great equalizer.
Very effective.
I think the way to defend it, though, you have to play assignment football, have great eye discipline. So let me show you how you're going to defend this triple option day against Navy. Army's guy's going to have to, the left end, he's going to have to take the dive back. That's his assignment. Now, if he isn't blocked, now he becomes an extra defender. The outside linebacker or the nickel back, he has to stay in great phase between the quarterback and the pitch man. And like Kirk said, the stalk blocks on the outside, the one-on-one between the DB and the wide receivers, the DBs must win. Now this play, the end, he goes to the dive, so the quarterback, he keeps it. Again, the outside linebacker, the nickel back, he's in great relationship between the quarterback and the pitch man. Number 7 does not block the DB. That guy is very key. You got to make sure that you can win those one-on-one battles, especially on the outside, because that's how you get an extra defender to defend against the triple option. So that's what Army's going to have to do today against Navy's triple option.
You had to go through a lot of tape to find 2 stops like that.
Exactly.
That was hard. Those are the only 2 stops of the night.
Right.
So what?
It ain't easy.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something about Army. In their all their wins this year, Army averages 40 points per game. And they do it by running the football. They're 5th in the nation in rushing. The leader is Larry Dixon. He can run the ball in the middle. He's a strong inside runner. He ran for over 1,000 yards this year rushing. He averaged 5.8 per year and scored 5 touchdowns. Army's game plan is simple. Run the ball, keep Navy's offense on the sideline. That's the way they're going to try to win the ball game, is ball control. And if they do it, Dixon has got to be a great player tonight.
You guys with the X and O, you're breaking it down. Dixon is a great story. Kirk mentioned earlier, you fumble at your sophomore year.
Going in to win.
Potentially cost Army a win. Now he's back as a senior. All those seniors, last chance. You guys showed a lot of great running plays, and that's what it's all about. But I do think in these games that sometimes you get lulled to sleep. It's a surprise pass play that can break it open. That's how Air Force broke open some games here. So somewhere, some way, whether it's Santiago, Reynolds going to have to make a pass play, catch the defense off guard, and gain 40, 50 yards in a chunk, and that'll make the difference because it's so hard to execute. These defenses know the opposing offense.
That's what's so great about the game again is they're running systems that mirror one another.
Yep.
Now that Jeff Monken is there and he's basically brought this Navy system to West Point, they're running such identical offenses that these linebackers and safeties, they see this all the time.
Right.
So who will be more disciplined on defense probably will be the factor in the game.
And don't forget the special teams. Could have a key point tonight.
Yeah. Absolutely. And also, what does every coach say? Turnovers. Army's had 3 turnovers each of the last 3 games against Navy. You cannot have that. Cannot have that again today.
Difference.
All right, coming back, we will have the headgear prediction for Army and Navy. Everybody interested here? I don't know there's great suspense, but there will be poignance in this pick. Roger Staubach will join us, and there will be people here who disagree. There'll be people who are going to be on both sides of this as we welcome back Mr. Staubach, Heisman Trophy winner, Super Bowl MVP, 2-time Super Bowl champion. Selections coming up here this Saturday.
College Game Day is built by the Home Depot. Share your tailgate tales with the Home Depot using hashtag Let's Do Game Day.
Time now for Saturday Selections, brought to you by Chevy Silverado. You can play Chevrolet virtual Saturday Selections online at ESPN.com. Search Chevrolet. Baby Mac, representing America here. We thank her for all season long. Got a USO feel right there.
She's got the best uni on.
Thank you, Baby Mac. We applaud the uni. Roger Staubach, of course, wore the uniform of Navy. 3 classic confrontations with Army. 62, 63 were victories. 64 came up just short. And, of course, Hall of Fame career with the Dallas Cowboys. 2 Super Bowl champions. Desmond Howard always brags about what it's like to be a Heisman Trophy winner and a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
Big deal.
All the time. That's all I ever talk about.
We got 2 of the 4 gentlemen who ever done that.
Exactly.
Congratulations, Roger. Welcome back.
That's great to be here.
We'll get to Army Navy in just a second. But there's another important game here. Your former team, the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, tomorrow night. So, Des, we'll get your prediction. You can. I think I know where you're going with this, but
Well, you may not know this, but I was the biggest Dallas Cowboys fan growing up. Huge fan. Lived in Cleveland, Ohio. Tony Dorsett was my favorite player. I used to play running back. I tried to model my game after his because I was a little short, fast guy too. So I'm going Cowboys big over the Eagles. I'm always rolling with the Cowboys.
Yeah. I've got to go along with that. The first time the Eagles took it to us on Thanksgiving Day, and I think we're going to make up for it. So
Payback for the Cowboys.
Right. I picked the Cowboys.
Not so fast, not so fast. The Eagles with Chip Kelly, one of my favorites. Eagles are going to win this ball game.
Des, you're right. For our generation, Roger Staubach, Drew Pearson, Tony Hill, Tony Dorsett, Robert Newhouse, Harvey Moore. I mean, you're either a Cowboys fan or a Steelers fan.
Exactly.
I was with you. I was a Cowboys fan, but not today. I'm going with Chip Kelly. They lost last week. They put up some points last time they played down in Dallas. Now they're back home. I'm going with Philly.
Chip Kelly.
Ron Jaworski, Harold Carmichael. We've got to throw some back in there. By the way, I talked to Chip Kelly last night. He was watching New Hampshire win the game. He was going crazy, but he calls today the greatest day in football. He's going to be watching this Army Navy game, really feeling that. We talked about the FCS quarterfinal game in the Fargo Dome. The 3-time defending national champion Bison, North Dakota State against the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina. Let's bring an upset there in the Dome.
No, I got North Dakota State. I mean, we had a fantastic time up there in Fargo. We've been up there twice. I think John Crockett, the running back, is going to have a big game. I have the Bison by a small margin.
Small margin. Have you researched this game, Roger?
I've studied. Alex Ross has had a great season.
There you go.
There we go. With Coastal Carolina. I think he's going to come through.
The upset.
I think it'll be an upset.
Not so fast, Purcell High School, man. I got a Bison named after me, Corso. How can I go against him?
Plus, we've been up to Fargo the last couple of years, and they're at home. Last year, they knocked out Coastal Carolina, so I'm going with North Dakota State. Their defense will get it done.
You threw that little Bison sign.
I did. I threw a little Bison.
That is not a hook 'em horns for a Texas fan.
No.
Division 3, it's Wisconsin-Whitewater that is the dynasty in the making here. The semifinal game against Linfield from Oregon. Wildcats have been road warriors. They've been pulling some upsets. Got to go to Whitewater.
I think Whitewater will pull it off. I think their quarterback, Matt Barron's going to have a big game. And when you speak Wisconsin, I always think Green Bay, so I got to go with Whitewater, Wisconsin.
Football is really an emotional game, and Linfield lost one of their players in a horrible tragedy, actually, and it was a very bad experience. At the I think they won the conference championship. Since then, they've been playing for this young guy, and so I got a feeling. I haven't studied it, the whole lineup or anything, but I think Linfield's going to win the game.
Powerful emotions for Linfield.
Yeah, I think emotional.
Okay. I hate to say this. Not so fast.
3 for 3.
No, you're a great football player, the best I've ever seen, but you're a lousy picker. I'm going with. Why do I? 3 for 3.
3 for 3. That's the first time.
Not so ever.
I'm with Roger here.
Oh, you got it. You were not.
I agree with you about the emotions and losing a player like that, and the fact they're an underdog. They've kind of been rallying around this, and I think Roger's right about the emotion of this game. So much on the line. I'm going with the upset.
You didn't know that. You just listened to him.
No, I did. The Bears filled me in. Are you kidding me?
You can't tell who's a lousy picker until the games are played.
Right.
That's true.
Well,
and in a few hours here in Baltimore, Army and Navy will collide for the 115th time. America's game, they call it. Regardless of whether you have a background in Army or Navy, you can watch this game and take great pride. Is this the year, in Jeff Monken's first year, Army ends Navy's run of dominance, or will the midshipmen make it 13 in a row over the Black Knights of the Hudson? We had hoped to hear from players from both sides about the emotions and what's at stake here. Mr. Corso will be back shortly. Sum up for us the emotions, what these players are feeling today, Roger.
Well, Army and with the 12-game losing streak there, they really want to make up for it. So it's that emotion is really important. They have a new coach. Jeff is really, I think he's going to really bring Army back to the caliber team they've been in the past. So I still feel Navy's going to win as long as we protect the ball today. We're going to beat Army.
Let's hear from the players now. What's at stake in this 115th collision?
When I hear Navy, I think let's beat the hell out of them.
When you say the word Army, I just think of you got to beat them.
There's no way to hide it. Like, the emotions there. Everywhere you walk around our stadium, our complex, you're going to see beat Navy.
We have a whole tunnel dedicated to just beating Navy.
We have beat Army on our plates, so we see it every day. You hear it every day in the hall. That's something we take very serious around here, beating Army. It's one of the first things you learn, and definitely want to keep that going.
I think the thing that bothers me most about Navy is maybe the fact that they think they're just going to win automatically. But that's definitely going to change. Man, I want to beat them very bad.
Made it the entire show with a play on Santiago's last name. All right, Desmond Howard.
Yes, sir.
Army versus Navy. You have a rooting interest in this, I believe.
Yeah, a little bit. I think that this game, the Army's going to be very emotional. I think they want to end this losing streak, and this team is going to be ready. Spoke to a lot of people yesterday. They want to make sure it's not 13 in a row, but in honor of Bobby, the bus driver, my friend Tim Hendricks, and Roger Staubach, I got to go with Navy. I got to go with the midshipmen. They're going to pull it out.
With this winning streak of 12 in a row, and you look at the quarterback and the way Navy's been playing all year and the way they've been able to win the second half of the season, it's easy to think that Navy's going to win this game. But when I was sitting on the side set with Jeff Monken, looking into his eyes and feeling that intensity and energy, and there's something about Larry Dixon, about what he did 2 years ago where he lost a game late. Now he comes back as a senior. Army snaps this streak of 12. Army beats Navy.
Wow. Ooh, some upsets.
Upset.
Wow.
Upset.
All right, we're going to find out.
They're a 15-point underdog. My father was in the Army. My brother is a Marine, so I should be down the middle of it. I'm with you. Something about you hate to see anybody in a rivalry suffer a streak that long. Why not end the streak
First
today?
year for Jeff Monken.
Yeah, it's tough.
Mr. Staubach.
Well, I don't like that, Kirk. I think as long as Navy protects the football, they're going to beat Army. So they're offensively, we're just a great football team. Keenan Reynolds is a great quarterback, and if we protect the ball, we win the game today.
There you go.
I expect nothing else. Where is Mr. Corso?
Sunshine
Mr. Corso, it is that time.
Hey, right down here. Roger, great pick. Roger, great pick. Listen, let me tell you something. I waited 47 years to do this. 47 years. Bill and Bill, go Navy, beat Army. Yeah!
47 years, and I'm sure it was worth the wait.
Got his robe on.
Enjoyed the game from Baltimore to whatever side you were on. It's been our honor to cap our season of College Game Day at the Army-Navy game for the first time. Roger, thank you so much for joining us. Thank all these we thank the coaches. We'll see you tonight from New York for the Heisman Trophy night.